Well, welcome guys back to the channel, Pugwall 316 channel. It is so cool today because we are going to interview Meghan Adara, who is the lead actress. Are we say an actor or actress? What do you prefer?
I call myself an actress, but I don't mind what you call me.
Okay, that's yeah. I never thought about that until I said it. Then until I questioned myself.
Yeah, some people get funny about it, but
yeah. It's like in teaching people. Some people like Sir and Miss, but then like if they're not a Miss, they're like, well, I'm not a Miss. You know, oh, okay. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I get that, and I'm happy with any of those things. Like, whatever makes people happy.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk not about all those things that I just said, but we're here to talk about the film that's about it's just finished yesterday as we speak.
Yes.
The Cellar. Now, Meghan, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate this because this is going to be exciting talking about it from an actor's point of view, because most of the people I interview tend to be the director. So I'm really interested in hearing your take on how it's all gone and what we have to look forward to. So it's a sci-fi horror film. Is that the best way of describing it? I have seen clips and I have seen pictures. Obviously, I've not seen the finished thing.
Yeah.
So tell me about that in terms of sci-fi horror. I think of films like Event Horizon and ones that I absolutely love like that. What was it about this project that made you want to get involved? Was it like the idea, because you don't see that many sci-fi horror films being made, certainly not in Britain.
No. So I'm more of I love horror. Most of my roles that I do are like drama, very like gritty based. And like one of my like favorite films I ever like genre wise is a horror film. And I haven't really done a lot of like horror films before. And also Jamie and I have like worked together as actor and actor in other projects.
Right.
So we've done like some projects over the last like couple of years and we got to know each other. And then he wrote this film that I had no idea about, and he just contacted me one day asking me if I read the script and if I liked it, would I want to come on board? And I read it and I really like enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really good script and a really good story. At the beginning it was a short film, and then over time it went into a feature film. But yeah, as you said, there isn't a lot of films that are sci-fi horror. So I went in reading it and wanted to be part of it because from how he described it, it was like a horror film. But then when you actually read it and as it became a feature film, it started to get more sci-fi like genre in it. I haven't done a lot of sci-fi before, so I thought it would be, interesting challenge, a different genre to work in. And also, as I said, because I've already done horror before, it wasn't like I was like leaping into this genre that I had no idea about. It's my first lead role, so it was nice to have a genre that I'm experienced in and know about and feel comfortable in, but also able to delve into a different genre but not feeling like too daunting about it. So yeah, it's very interesting mix, and it's been a lot of fun, but that's mainly the reason I got into it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because obviously, as we were saying about it, I think certainly from what I've seen of it, the aesthetic of the film, it looks a real quality. It's not a silly.
Oh no,
silly. It's a serious horror film with sci-fi elements. The lighting and the cinematography, from what I've seen, is just so classy. I think is the way I would put it, like classy looking.
Yes.
But one thing I will say, from the clips I have seen, it was a real physical, like for you personally, it was a physical challenge. Is that right?
Yeah. So I didn't, as when it was a short film, we were just meant to like do one day, get as much done in that one day, and then like try and get funding for it. But then we did the one day, and then he asked me to do another day. So that day was like me walking around the cellar, like getting into like moldy like alcoves. It was like like thinking about it, it was grim. At the time, I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But when you like watch the footage back, it is like he hasn't like done anything to like the set. That is actually like how it was. It was like so like dirty. Um,
Well, if
so
it works for a Texas Chainsaw, I guess.
yeah. So yeah, it was like physical, having to like, you know, run around like the cellar and stuff. Obviously like acting wise, like emotionally, it was like challenging as well, because I had to react to like all these like different things, and there isn't actually anyone really on set, it's just myself, so I'm like having to react to like pretend that there's something there but there isn't anyone there.
Right.
So that was challenging, but it was really fun because I love just like going like into it. So even though it was like some days, the next day I was like, all right, I can't move because it was so physical.
So intense.
I feel like when you watch it, it pays off. And I wasn't like complaining like I can't do it anymore.
No, you were throwing
I'm like
yourself
one of
into
these
it.
people. It's like if I'm in pain, like I'm just gonna keep going. So yeah, but I've never really done like a proper physical role before. So it was quite fun again to, you know, use physicality through acting rather than, you know, using lines to act. So yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess with it being Jamie Langland's first directed feature anyway,
Yeah.
and your first lead role being directed by an actor. You know,
Yes.
I was looking through some of the things that you've been in and kind of
Yeah.
researching both of you.
Yeah.
And you know, he's been involved or certainly been a part of really big productions like Rush and things like that, and seen them. Do you think that that's informed the way you work together, like knowing that he's an actor who isn't going to ask things of you that he wouldn't ask of himself, maybe?
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
So as I said earlier, we've worked together before, so we already had this like I guess connection of like what my abilities are, what his abilities are.
Right.
And we haven't worked together as a director and actor, so it was really interesting to work with him in a different role. But then obviously because he is an actor, he has all this which I don't know if all directors have, because obviously some directors do acting. They like write things, direct it, and star in it themselves. But it was interesting to see how like detailed he was about everything. And on some projects I work on, you know, you turn up and they're like, right, this is the scene we're gonna do, and I'm like, okay, and then we get into it. Whereas with Jamie, it was like, this is the scene we're doing. And then we'd have like, before we shoot it, he'd run through what he wanted me to do.
Right.
So even though obviously the script is already written and obviously you know what you need to do, it was like just the added like little bits of details of like, you know, over there, like look that way, or, you know, touch this thing, or pause here, you know, make sure that you're constantly like thinking. He'd always run through with every person who was on set, even if you were in a little, you know, role, like, you know, you're only in the scene for a little bit. Even then, he'd like run through the character and the scene with you, just to make sure that obviously his vision is coming to life, which I found really helpful, because then obviously I knew exactly what he wanted from me, but also I took it as like he's really taking this seriously, and like he obviously really wants this to be the best that he can be. And I really appreciated that, because some directors aren't as like hands-on with it. So yeah, it was different to see him in that role. And to be honest, he's he's really, really good at it.
Right.
So I'd love to be able to work with him again, or as you know, with him as director, because it's just a really great experience, and his eye to detail is like insane. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I just like I say from the clips I've seen and the pictures I've seen, it obviously looks like a labor of love, and you know, it's not just kind of like point and shoot and then move on to the next thing. It's like a I'm kind of interested in the, you know, there's often when it comes to great horror creators and there's like core groups of people, like whether it's Sam Raimi and all his group of friends and family, or in Britain, I suppose it's like Rob Savage and Jed Shepherd and people like that who are kind of, you work with each other multiple times and get to know each other. I don't know what the, and I know a bit of the sort of Midlands northern scene, but where you are in sort of based in Brighton mainly, do you get a core group of people that you work with quite a lot who tend to stick together and help each other?
Yeah. Acting's like, you wouldn't think it is because it's such a massive industry, but it's such like a small world. Like you'll turn up to a shoot and you'll be like, I recognize them, but I don't know why. And then they'll like come up to you and you'll start talking, and it turns out that even though you weren't on the same day in a particular film, but you were involved in the same film. And just from like seeing like backstage photos or like the finished film, then you recognize and be like, oh, they were part of that project. But when I was at college, most of the people that I started off doing films with, I went to college with them, or I did like theatre, theatre workshops with them, and then you get cast later on in like these films, and you're like, oh, we went to college together. Oh, we did those theatre workshops together. And as I said with Jamie, we worked together for like probably like over the last 3 years, I want to say, coming up to maybe 3 years. And I got cast in a short film for Brighton Uni, and he was playing the teacher and I was playing one of the students in the film. And that was the first time I ever met him. But then basically every other shoot that I got, it turned out he was on it. So we would turn up and be like, oh, hi, it's you again. So that's how we got to know each other. We would just be put like in these films together. And then there's like people who I've worked with, I said, at like college and theatre groups. They've introduced me to like filmmakers that they know. And then obviously because you know all these collective people, you tend to see the same like actors on the same projects, which is really nice because obviously then you've worked with each other before, you know each other from like a personal background, and you end up making these like friendships, but also networking at the same time. And then it's really fun to get onto projects from friends who are like, oh, I've got this role, like, do you want to be part of it? So it's nice to help out, you know, friends in the industry as well. So I would say that acting, even though it's massive, is like actually a very small world when you actually like, you know, break it down. It's really like funny sometimes when you turn up on the set and you haven't seen someone for years, but you follow them on Instagram and you're like, I worked with you like a few years ago, and then you're back working together. I even love it when you like see like big actors and they're like in something together and then they get cast in the same thing together. Like I love seeing like people who have worked together previously working together again, like just because I think you like become like such great friends on the set.
Yeah, particularly if you have chemistry in real life, just for, or a friendship in real life, it does translate, doesn't it?
And yeah, it's just really lovely to be able to work with the same people again, depending on what the genre is and things. Yeah,
I'd imagine being kind of in the more southerly areas of England, you've got access then to people from London, maybe a bit more than say. You know, the people that maybe I've interviewed who are kind of in the Midlands or the North, but they often talk about, you know, whether it's courses and schemes and things like that that maybe don't exist anymore, that people can't really get on or do. I'd imagine that's the same wherever you are in Britain, that actually getting things made is still incredibly difficult and really hard to kind of. So I imagine from an actor's point of view, getting those roles is really quite challenging as well.
Yeah. I would say, especially in, obviously London's bigger, but it has more of a film scene. Brighton is starting to have more of a film scene, but when I was like at college, there was like hardly, or maybe I just didn't know because I was at college and I was like obviously in this like little bubble and I was just like starting to try and pursue it professionally. But when I was in college, it didn't seem that there was a lot of like film opportunities. Whereas now there's like obviously unis that are starting to take on acting courses or filmmaking courses. So it's getting more of an acting scene. So it is hard in Brighton because there's so many actors in Brighton and that you're all applying for the same project. So
it's quite
sometimes
creative. There's a lot of creators there, aren't there?
Yes, and it can become a little bit of like a competition, I would say, between like actors trying to get on a project, because obviously you just want to work, and you want to create and you want to meet people, but there's so many, like, even if it's like a director, sometimes they'll take on like, you know, assisting or producing roles or acting roles just to be like creative, which is why I was saying earlier about when you meet people and you become friends with people and you meet, they introduce you to other filmmakers, sometimes they will offer you a role and you're just so excited to be able to create, that you just jump on it. So it can be difficult, but when you get a role, it's like so exciting, and you put all your energy into it.
And obviously, from speaking to you just now and kind of watching and the clips and listening to Jamie, this is something where you can really get your teeth into it, and it's something you have a passion for doing. I'm interested in. I'm trying to think. Really, there's not many films. Yeah, there's cult films, and there's you know, and by cult films I mean actual cults for people who are watching. I mean like not like a cult film, but but this is interesting that because there's element. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying that, you know, trying to achieve immortality through human experiments. So the human experiment side of it is interesting because we see that in sort of more extreme. Asian film and sometimes that's such an interesting mix. So I just wondered what your first thought is when you read that. Were you just like, this is going to be wild?
So when he first asked me to be part of it, and it was just a short film, it didn't actually delve into a lot of detail of what was happening. So it was kind of like, we were going to film the like short film and then try and get funding, and it was meant to be like this cliffhanger of like, oh, that's interesting, where can that go? So when I read it, I wasn't like, it wasn't like said in the script what was actually happening, but over the course of filming he would rewrite the script, and he would add bits in. So the more he wrote, sometimes we'd have to revisit a scene to, like, you know, add in the extra bit. So yeah, it did start to become like, even at some points he would like, he'd rewrite the script but he still wouldn't say exactly what was happening. So like, even you are thinking like, what's actually like going on? Like, I know that something weird's going on, but like, what are they actually like trying to like achieve? Which is obviously like interesting for an actor, because then you're on set and you're acting and you're genuinely like, oh my god, like what is she gonna like come across? And then when you'd get to the next scene, like next filming day, he would have added it in and you're like, oh my god, that's so interesting. So it wasn't like so it wasn't like he from the moment he wrote it that it was in the script. So yeah, it was interesting going through the process of him adding it, of you then like, oh my god, that's like so cool. Like I didn't even think that was happening. But then I'd like, once he added it into the script, I was like researching into all these different things. So yeah, when you're acting it out, it is a bit like, oh my god, that's like it's insane, like all these different like things like together. And when we were a couple of times on set, other actors would be asking him and where he like came up with the idea and stuff. And as you said, you don't see many films that incorporate all these different like things together. And he just thought it was like a unique selling point, and not something that audiences get to see that much. So he wanted to go down the sci-fi horror, but he wanted a uniqueness to it that would be similar to films that are already out there, but have its own unique selling point that audiences wouldn't see, and would be like, that's really interesting, I haven't seen that before, and it's a really fun and interesting take on it. And for me, obviously, it's been like crazy, learning as you go along, but it's made it really, really fun. And yeah,
that sounds really exciting. And like I was saying, we've got the underground cult, we've got the sci-fi, the horror, the human experiments. I was watching the trailer and looking at the lighting, and I could see some giallo influences in there. I could see some. I was even thinking a little bit of Eyes Wide Shut, with the masks and the and obviously there's some. I think in a way there's some horror elements with Eyes Wide Shut in a lot of ways, because it is a kind of cult and creepy and strange. So I was seeing all these things, but again, it's going to be, like you said, a very unique amalgamation of all these unusual things to bring together. That must be so. Obviously, you talked about this being the lead on this film, but you've been on a lot of sets and seen lots of different things being made in different ways. I've got to ask you, because it's a British production, but it's gone stratospheric because people are really interested. So you're in the Winnie the Pooh universe, do they call it?
I guess.
I think that's what they call it, isn't it? The Poohniverse. So the second one, which I believe is now Britain have got Tubi. I believe it's on Tubi at the moment. We're so behind the times, aren't we? It's like, we've got Tubi now, but like everybody I know in America is like, we've had that a long time. But it must be very different being involved in something like that, where I guess the intention is it's an IP that is in the public domain. We're going to not so much cash in, but we're going to do a completely different take on it. But it's just a very, very different to this, where this is a completely new project. Without I'm not trying to lead you and say that this one's good and this one's bad, but I'm just kind of interested in the differing approaches, because you would want that level of success for this film, but they're very, very different. Like it's a kind of I'm just interested on your take on that, really, from seeing both of them in a different.
So obviously when I came on board, it didn't really have the like traction that Winnie the Pooh had. Obviously it's such a beloved character, and I think when people found out they were turning it into a horror film, they were like, oh my god, like that's insane, like I need to know what's going to happen. Whereas with this, it was like obviously we have a smaller budget compared to what they had, and we would literally just getting together, people who knew each other, we'd worked together before, to make a horror like feature film. And then literally purely from the Indiegogo, that's where all the interest came from. I don't think we expected it to get this much what's it called, like this much interest. So much support and so much interest, like throughout filming it. I think the plan was to try and build up some money to be able to finish the film, to, you know, get the locations we needed, to get the costumes and stuff. And then once it was out there, we were going to use the unique selling point to be like, this is what we're doing, but this is what's different about it. And that's when the you know, interest was going to come. But it's literally like so many people are so interested, and I don't think we expected that.
No, it looks like a bigger budget film. I think from the
It does.
cinematography point of view,
Yeah.
you know, you wouldn't be. It's a bit like, I always go back to like Host. Like Host was made on such a skeleton, you know, like just essentially it's just the power of a really good idea. A group of people then all happen to sort of be in the right place at the right time with the right ideas and the right sort of creativity, and it all just a perfect melting pot.
Yeah,
that happens, and you hope that this is, you know, a similar situation, because that was the film that got me back into British horror. I was like a big Hammer, Amicus fan, but like 90s, 2000s, and I wasn't really as engaged. But this is one of those, I think, where like you say, it's such a unique point of view. I was instantly like, oh, something different here, something like I want to see this film. And it's hard because there's so much competition, even in funding, even on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. It's ridiculous, isn't it, that it feels like you're in competition with thousands of movies.
Yeah, I think what has made it so interesting and, you know, got the interest that we weren't expecting is that we all know each other. We've all worked together before. We all know what our abilities and capabilities are, and you can see that in the film, in the cinematography, you know, the lighting, the sound, like even like the behind the scenes photos. Like, we've all worked together before, and I think that when you've worked together before, it's even more exciting because you come together and you're like, we're going to make this film. We don't know what it's going to, you know, the audience is going to think of it, but we're passionate about it. And hopefully the audience and people who are going to support us can see that, you know, we are passionate about what we are doing. And I think that's why it's coming off across as a higher budget than what it actually is, because, you know, we're all so like eager and, you know, like, yeah, just so eager to try and make it the best film that we can. And we're like all pushing each other to like outdo outdo ourselves and challenge each other. And even like some people who are acting are stepping up to be makeup artists or like set designers, or sometimes they're like stepping up to like do the sound. Like, if we're like falling short of, you know, a production person, like, we're just gonna step up and do it because we don't want to fall behind trying to get this film done, because we know what our vision is and we're all learning at the same time. So I feel like having us together, having worked together, is just, you know, really like invigorating what it's gonna be. And yeah, we're just really passionate about trying to make the best film that we can. And hopefully when you watch it, you'll see that, you know, we really did have that drive to get across what our vision is. So it is really, really, really lovely that so many people are like supporting us. And I think
it's doing so well.
And it has taken us like a bit like aback, like, oh wow. And again, that interest is fueling us to try and make it the best it can be, so that people who are supporting us will watch it and be like, I'm really glad I supported that because look what they've made. So yeah, it's just so exciting. And like, for me as the lead actress, my first film in a first lead role, it's just like insane. Like, it's just amazing. I didn't think I'd get to this point that so many people would be interested. But yeah, it's just really lovely to see. And all of us
that passion is really does come across in the things that I've seen so far. And I think that now's probably a good time for me to say, if people go to the description of this video and click on there, there are different levels of support that they can give, from very, very small. All of it helps to kind of put those finishing touches, that post-production, and really get, the film that you want people to see, and like you say, it almost like deserves to be out there. It's going to be, like you say, it's done very, very well in terms of the amount of people that are supporting it. But there's still time now for people. By the time I edit this and put this up, people can get involved. And like I put a little bit to it myself, because I was like, oh, this is a film that I really want to see. And I very rarely do that, because, like we said before, you have so many thrown at you, and like you just think, oh, I can't do all of them, so I'll do none. But the ones that I do are either really, really silly, or I think they're going to be really, really good. And this goes into the really, really good, because I like silly too. There is a place for silly, But I think this is going to be really, really good, because I think sometimes in British films we get caught in this middle of the row where we make a good film with a good production, but we get like one American actor and put them in the poster, and then kind of forget about the story side of it, maybe.
Yeah.
And what I get from this film is that the story is like we said before, it's very unique, but also I feel like a lot of time and thought and creativity's gone into it. It's a film that's about the story, rather than like a film where we can get, I don't want to say a name, but like someone who's a name, who we know them as an American actor, and then we think, okay, we're going to have some gangsters. Okay, we're gonna have to have like a shootout, or and then it kind of gets away, I'm sure, from what the person who wrote it. Because you've obviously you've done so many different things in such a short time. And you've probably got to see all those things that I've described. I was just thinking as I was saying it, you've probably seen those where there's an actor come in and who's like, they've gone for a day, and that's the selling point. And then on the other side of it, a film like this where you get to lead the film. So it must be very different seeing both sides of that.
So obviously I've done like supporting roles in like features or like short films. Like I've led some short films, but a short film and a supporting in a feature film is completely different to a lead in a feature film. Right. In a good way, like it's so challenging, but it's really like fun and rewarding. And seeing all the different, like, because obviously when you are like a support, you only, as you said, are on set for like a day or like a couple of days, so you don't see all the behind the scenes stuff that's going on. Whereas when you're like the main role and you're on set every single day, you see like everything, like all the behind the scenes stuff that's going on. You're in contact with like all these different people, because like behind the scenes sound and cinematographers and stuff, like they'll send you stuff on like email being like, this is the rundown of the day, we need you to be here at this time, and you see them setting up, and not all the time do you get see them setting up, and how much time and energy goes into the behind the scenes stuff. So I would say that from doing the lead, I know more about the behind the scenes stuff of setting up a film, whereas I wouldn't necessarily say from doing a short film, turning up when it was already set up, I knew that stuff. So I would say I've learned new skills. I wouldn't say that
almost like film school.
I wouldn't say that I can, run like film anything or like probably set up a light without help, but but I would say that I've learned, you know, how the inner workings of everything collectively works.
That'll be something that you take with you throughout your
Yeah.
career as well, won't it? So that maybe the way you understand why something is taking a certain amount of time,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
you know, and also I'd imagine it must be quite inspiring to see opportunities in, because you know, maybe some people watch a movie and think director and actor, and they don't think of all the other things. So I guess there's opportunities to kind of find new strings to your own bow and go, oh, I'd like to try that one day, or I'd like to get involved in that.
Yeah. For me, I'm very much actor. Possibly I'd like to write something, but I'm not very good at writing stuff. But from meeting the people on the film, and some of the people who are acting in the film have also come on to help write some scenes, because they have unique insight into some of the scenes within the film, which is again how I think the film has very much stayed on course of, this is what we're doing, this is the story, and we're gonna follow that the whole way without, you know, going off in different areas that isn't anything to do with the story. So from meeting people from the film, I've made connections in, you know, like writers and makeup artists, costume designers, all that stuff. So if I ever did want to go down that route, I've made connections that I can be like, look, I want to do this. Can you help me? So it's been a learning curve, and even though we already really knew each other, I didn't necessarily know that they themselves did that. So it's been really interesting to be like, oh, I didn't know you did that. That's like really cool. Like, how did you get into that? So if I ever did want to go down that route, I have people that I can go to. Yeah.
I feel that's really interesting, because there is, and I'm going to make myself sound like I'm absolutely ancient, but I did screenwriting at university, and I felt like there was no avenue to kind of test things out or try things out. And I was working with somebody recently, and he'd written a series of ghost stories, and then he wrote a script, and I said to her, oh, well, I hadn't written since I've been teaching. All my creative energy had gone into teaching. I hadn't written anything for years, and I changed my role, and I sent in a script, and it did quite well in because of Film Freeway, just sending it out to lots of different places, and that was really great. And I was just thinking, I would have loved something like that 20 plus years ago. It would have been really, really cool. But the guy who I told about, he's older than me, sort of in his 50s, and he sent it out, and he's like, oh, people really like this screenplay. People want to make this screenplay. So I guess what I'm saying is that there seems to be different avenues to follow, that maybe you don't just have to have lots of money, or there seems to be ways to kind of get your work seen. But it's great to actually know people that you've worked alongside as well, isn't it? And go, how do you do this?
Because it's also interesting, because like, as I said, I didn't even know that they did that stuff. Like, I just thought, oh, they're an actor, that's all they do. Like, and then you turn up, and then you read the script, and it says like someone who's acting in the film has helped written this part, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you go talk to them, and you're like, so how come you like got on to helping write the film in this particular scene? And then they tell you that they have a unique, you know, experience with this particular part of the film. So you really learn a lot of stuff about people that you didn't necessarily like know when you first met them, or when you work with them just actor and actor. So yeah, I think that if I ever did want to go down that route, I could, you know, get help from people, or maybe if Jamie was to write another film and it had something that I had personal experience with, I could help him, you know, write a scene, because some of the stuff in the film I connect with, And it's in my mind when I'm in the scene, I'm like, oh, it's interesting. What would I write dialogue wise, or how would I, write the scene to convey what I've been through? And that's what comes across in the writing, is the people who have actually helped write it. You can see their experience in the layout of the scene as well.
Right.
So it's just really interesting to learn.
That's good that people are open as well to that, rather than
yeah,
you'll just do it my way.
yes,
This is my story, and kind of not precious about it. That I think shows confidence as well. Confidence in the people around them, but confidence in their own ability to kind of bring people together, like be kind of like almost like a ringmaster, and bring everybody everybody into.
Jamie really wants to make sure that what his vision is executed, and if that means that he needs to get help from people who have experience that he doesn't necessarily have personal experience with, he's open to it, because he really wants to make sure that he gets it right, and he'd rather get it right than get it wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think the people you're working alongside, somebody said this to me in an interview recently, and it stayed with me for a while, because I was like, oh, you seem to always, or not always, but work with the same people quite a lot. Why is that? Is it just friendships, or are they really good? And he was like, well, actually, what you don't see is that there were lots of other people who were involved earlier on, and they were maybe only interested in having their name on a film, or turning up occasionally, and they kind of drop off. And the ones that you're seeing now being used multiple times are because they're the ones with the ability, the passion, the determination to keep doing it. And I was really, because often we just go, oh yeah, like this person always works with these 3 or 4 actors or whoever it is, and obviously it's because they're good, and not just that they know them.
Yes, yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. So I guess there will have been people in your career that you may have seen earlier on, and then they've kind of dropped by the wayside as you've kind of pressed on with your career.
Yeah, I feel like with me, obviously, I'm very interested in acting, but I feel like I'm also open to exploring different avenues within the industry. As I said, writing, just because they say write about what you know. So maybe there's a film that I do, and I'm like, oh, I can help write that because I have experience. But I feel like maybe not people that I know really well, like maybe I've done one film with at the start of my career, they think that they want to go into the industry, and then they start doing acting, and then it turns out that's not what they want to do at all. Even when I was in college, people would have done the college acting course, and then when they leave, they don't even pursue it. They go and do something completely different, and to me it's so confusing, because I'm so connected to the industry. I don't get why you think you would want to do something, then you go do something else. And sometimes they say that they want to do writing, and then they might just do one thing and then they just drop off.
I wonder if the rejection side of things are really hard because obviously particularly acting, you are, and you'll know better than me, I've literally only ever filmed remote things for people, like being myself for 2 minutes, which is even that was difficult to be convinced. It's like he doesn't seem like he could play himself, but there has to be a toughness and that you might not be the person for that role, I guess.
Yeah, I do feel like when you're in college or you're just starting out, you have this passion to do it, and you're really excited, but then the more roles you audition for and the more rejection you get, it is hard to take, because you're like, oh my god, am I bad? like
you question
actor.
yourself.
And like, don't get me wrong, like even now I have like times where I'm like, what am I like
But I think isn't
doing?
that something that a lot of creative? I think anybody who's creative is quite an inward. We have to look
Yeah.
inwardly to get that creativity, and part of looking inwardly is looking at your own flaws as well as the things you're good at. And often we are very good at looking at the things we're not good at rather than the things we are. And if it's being reinforced in a small way just because they were looking for somebody, I don't know, 7 foot tall and you're 5 foot tall, like then you could take that very personally. Or you could just go, I'm not 7 foot tall, like.
Yeah, I think that's why you either meet the same people, as you said, on a shoot that you've worked with previously, or you'll work with someone and then you won't like see them do anything again. Because I think the industry is so hard, it's so difficult right now, and there's so many actors like who want to give up, but they don't want to give up on their dream. But I feel like some people just, like even myself, like some days I just think I'm just not gonna do it anymore because it's so hard. And I feel like that's what other like people who you work with and then you don't see them again, it's the rejection is just so cruel. And having to, like, as you said, actors are very inward and they're very self-critical, so I feel like adding that to the industry and to yourself and getting told no constantly, it just eventually takes a hold on you and you're just like, I can't do it.
I get that as well, because you're kind of making decisions about yourself based on other people's opinions, and you can be like, well, actually that person, they're wrong, you're the right person, you could execute that. I guess teaching in a lot of ways is similar, where I felt that I still work in education, but I don't necessarily have the same level of scrutiny that I used to have. And sometimes you think to have somebody watching every move, and of course there has to be accountability in everything we do, but there's certain professions where it's really tough to take, because even it doesn't matter how you frame it, whether they're they're trying to mentor you or be a critical friend or all of these things, it's still tough. And I think to continue to follow that and keep pushing on and then finding other things must feel great. So to be making like the Cellar and going, I'm getting to kind of suggest and really identifying with this role must be a really satisfying feeling. And does it make all those other moments worthwhile?
Yes. With this film, there's parts in it that I put, like Abigail's backstory that you won't know, but obviously for me, Jamie wrote like a little brief backstory about her, and then from that I connected to it, and then I did further research into it, but I knew the emotion and what she was going through and understood, her mental state, and why she chose to do what she did. So in that respect, it's so rewarding because it's like, oh, there's a character that I really connect with and I really want to tell her story. And then obviously some stuff happens that I don't necessarily connect with. But the basis of the character, it's really nice to play someone that you fully understand and you can tell the story to others, and then others get to understand what people don't necessarily really want to talk about because it's so like sad and depressing and hard hitting. And then you play a character and you get to tell that story, but you're also getting to tell your own story in some way, like you interpret their hurt and anguish and connect your anguish to it, and then you get to tell both your stories at the same time, and then people really connect with it.
That's a really good way of putting it. I never thought about it that way. Like it's almost you're bringing two people's stories together. Yeah, that's really interesting.
You always hear about actors who say you always try and find yourself within the role. that's what I always try and do. If there's a character that, you know, sometimes I play characters and they're like really snobby and they're like really rich, and they act like really entitled, and I'm not like that. But then you try and break down the script and you try and break down the character, be like, why are they like that? And then you find yourself within it. So it's like, if I didn't act this way, but I connect to what she's feeling like, and then I chose a different persona, that's how you connect to the character, because you're like, oh, she's using a different coping mechanism to what I do, but we're all like, I'm still the same in like internally to what she is internally, but she's expressing it in a different way. So
that's really, that's fascinating. I find that, like, playing characters obviously that are, like you just said, like completely opposite to what you are, I like to try and find that little bit of that kernel of truth or a kernel of something to hold on to that is that you can understand them. Is really interesting, and like it's weird. I guess it must be even harder for somebody. I know this is kind of going off at a tangent. Just thinking about, you know, you get these soap actors who like play the same role for 60 years, but within that character, they go from being like quite a bland, normal person, just regular dude. Then they're like, you know, have 7 affairs, murder somebody, go and they're going to have to kind of think of that character as a different, completely different entity. Otherwise, it would drive you mad, wouldn't it, to be stuck inside that person that you don't, you don't connect with.
Yeah, I think like I'd love to like do a soap, because I like it's so challenging, and you get to explore these different, you know, sides to the characters that not necessarily when you were cast, you know, was in the script, or you didn't know about them, and then they start adding these stuff to the script and you learn new things about them, and then you connect to a different side to yourself because of what the character's going through. I just think like soap actors are like, they're basically like theatre actors, like they have to like constantly you know, perform and like over and over and over again, and it's just, you know, learning new scripts on the day that they're gonna start shooting, and like the stress, I can't even imagine.
I can't. I don't know. You see all these people, and I probably haven't watched a soap opera since I moved out of my mum and dad's house at 18. My mum used to love Corrie, and like, you know, even she will say to me, oh, you know, this person's had like their 7th affair now, and this person got electrocuted, and this, like, those people are just turning up on the day and going, oh, okay, okay, I'm doing it for 30 years or 40 years.
I did a film with Jamie. We were both acting in it, and the sound guy, he was the sound guy for Hollyoaks. So we got some insight into like what happens on a soap, and he was like, they'll get sent the script like months in advance. You know, they learn they learn their lines, and then they turn up on that day, and they'll give them a new script, and they've got to learn it within like half an hour. And I'm like that stress is just like I couldn't. Like I really like applaud.
They don't really get that appreciation for the acting side of it, do they?
No, I know, and it's really because like I don't like, obviously they're like good actors to be cast, but I feel like maybe the writing doesn't necessarily like match their strengths, maybe. And then again, obviously getting the script on the day that you're filming must be like trying to like remember the new lines that you've had months to learn, and then they suddenly change them. Like if that happened to me, I'd be losing my mind. I'd be like, can't do it.
Do you know what? I have to help out with school plays sometimes and pop up on stage and say lines if kids didn't turn up. And even if I had one line, even though I've been practicing with them for weeks, I'd write it on my hand, because I'd just stand on stage and go blank. So no, I really do appreciate how tough that must be, and how tough it is in general. And one thing I want to say a little bit about the film is people don't often mention. Is that when I'm looking at the sort of the pack of information that came through, the on-set photography, I'm going to mention Adam Hollingsworth photography, is so good. It really adds to what the vibe and the feel of the film. Like there's pictures of yourself in like in red, and it made me think of like Suspiria, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this looks really good.
Mm.
Were you able to see these quite early on and kind of see how good they were? Because they're incredible. The mask pictures.
So the one when I'm next to the cell in the red, he asked me to like pose for the photo, which I find really difficult because I then start overthinking like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the other ones, he takes them while you are doing the scene. So you don't, the ones that he asks you to like pose for, you will get to see the photo. And obviously they look great, but then he obviously goes away and he like edits them or like enhances them, and they look absolutely amazing. Like some of the ones that I've done when I'm acting and he's just done behind the scenes photos, I'm like, that is like so good.
Yeah, I was thinking you should get some of them framed. They'd be really
Yeah,
good.
someone actually messaged me on Instagram. They wanted to get some like either like postcards, like memorabilia things, and then you can like sign them, and then like if anyone wanted like a a memorabilia thing, you can like ask for one, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm old enough to remember lobby cards being a thing, and I love lobby cards. I still collect them because they're actually quite cheap to get hold of. Some of the art on them, I
Yeah.
thought, I don't know, I was going to get one and show you. I've got a really good one from the film Star Crash with Caroline Munro on it, and it's just stunning. And some of these pictures remind me they should almost, like, if you put 4 of them on a lobby card, they'd look amazing.
Yeah. So Adam used to do commercial like shoots.
Right.
So he's now going into film. But I think obviously from his experience as a photographer for many years, he has a very, very good eye for detail. And they would look so good as like a poster or, like a postcard or something. I definitely feel like we need to do more with the behind the scenes photos rather than, as well as posting them on social media, because they're just so good.
Yeah, they'd be lovely to have like a real glossy.
Mm.
Yeah, really good. It's funny because I interviewed a director, Gene Dolders, who's making a film called The Blade Cuts Deeper, and it's like a northern English take on giallo. And it's, again, he's done cinematography for so many films. His eye for what he's doing, again, was one that really made me go, oh my word, this is going to be beautiful. Because that's sometimes something that's missed, isn't it? I used to go to a lot of film festivals and watch like British horror films, and a lot of them were just really rushed, and like some of them were really fun, don't get me wrong, but like I was like, I'd like it to look like stunning, and I feel like this, even the trailer is stunning, isn't it?
Yeah. So the first cinematographer who's done most of the shoots is Richard Dumford. He's a filmmaker himself, so obviously he's got a really good eye for cinematography and what the scene's going to look like, and all the little like details that not necessarily you would think about. But I think that's why the trailer and all the footage that is coming out is looking so good. It's because everyone, including Jamie, he hops on the camera and like he will say, oh, I want it more this way, or I want more of this in, or I want some smoke in to make make it look more eerie, and the light will like bounce off of it. And everyone collaborating together is why the cinematography looks so good. It's because their eye for detail is like so amazing. And before you start shooting, that is what they are focusing on. They're focusing on making sure that the things in the scene, like particular things in the scene that might make, that might relate to the story is in, so that people are like, oh, what's that about? And then sometimes something that there was a scene we did in St Leonard's, in this B&B, and it's like the location is amazing. Some of the stuff in there wasn't in the script, but when you went and you started filming, you're like, that's creepy, that can connect. And then he'd add that to the script, because it's just like some of the stuff in there is like insane, like so like old and like Victorian stuff. Yeah, so he'd add that to the script, because when you turn up, you're just like, all the details are so like rich, and really helps feed into the story and make it, you know, more lifelike. Yeah.
Wow. That, I didn't think I could be more excited to watch this film. You've done a really good job of selling it to me even more, because I'm already a backer. So now I'll have to go and speak to my bank manager. But no, thanks so much for explaining it, particularly from the acting process. I'm fascinated with actors, just because I know it's something I could never do. Like, I could write and write and write and write and write, but I know I couldn't act. I know I've not got the visual or technical side to actually make a film, but it's fascinating to hear the thought processes behind everything, but also how you kind of explain the collaborative process to making this film, which I think is going to be incredible to see. Is there anything that you feel that we've not covered that you want to get across, so that people will click on that link to Indiegogo, or do you feel we've done our job?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and you've asked some questions that other interviewers haven't asked, which is really interesting. So yeah.
Oh, thanks for that. I wasn't looking for a pat on the back, but thanks for that anyway. I appreciate that. It's funny because I probably people who watch these videos already, like, my day job is often interviewing people and asking them questions. And when you're going into schools and you're looking for certain things, I try and put them so I'm not asking the same questions at every school. I would go insane if I had to. So I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. Thank you. And just obviously, I've only seen a little bit of you in action. I've not actually. I don't even know. I've seen you running around a lot, and in the trailer, and I've seen, like, I've heard the music, and I've seen a lot of the pictures. But I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful experience. I did see The Caller, and I know you were in The Caller as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie killed me in the film.
Wow, that's how friendships are made, I guess.
Yeah. Basically, every film I'm in, he's like either like bludgeoned me to death or something.
And again, you're not taking it personally.
No.
Oh, thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hope people. No, you're welcome, and I really hope people click on the Indiegogo and have a good look. And I know it doesn't matter how small, if people just want to show their support in a little way, or even with a message or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's, hopefully we'll be able to.
There is some left. I know some of them have sold out, but there is some perks left. So yeah, one of the ones which I think is really cool is you can have a day, although that is gone now. But I did think it was really cool. It was a day on set, so you could like come to set, like watch behind the scenes and stuff. Or you could get a perk that was a role in the film, like a voiceover or something, which I thought was really cool as well. For anyone who's like starting out in the industry, you know, like a little credit for, you know, being part of a feature film, I thought was super cool.
Yeah, and like, obviously you've got people involved who maybe it's their first time being in films as well, and or they've, you know, want to get a bit of experience. And I was just thinking in my like small way, like when I've asked to interview people, and that, you know, some of them will just be like, "This is how much money," and I'm like, "I'm just doing this to promote and support. I'm not paying." But like somebody like, say, Jed Shepherd, he was like really supportive to me into. I think the British film industry at a certain level, particularly horror, seems to be about lifting each other up. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but like lifting each other up and supporting each other. So that's really nice to hear that that you're kind of promoting that even within the Indiegogo. Like, let's get people involved. And
yeah, I didn't realize how much of a horror like network group of people there was. Obviously, like as I've said, I've done some horror films before, but I guess that's another thing of being the lead that you don't necessarily get from being just a supporter, a supporting character. Is you really have to get behind promoting the film, because obviously you are the lead and you want people to see it. So from that, I've like been like opened up to like all these like different like horror like groups and like networks, and there's such a big like community that I didn't.
And it's so mainstream now as well.
Yeah,
like horror has become
people love it.
so popular. Yeah, people, and the fandom. Like, I used to go to a lot of conventions, and some of them now you can barely breathe. There's so many people in the building. Where it used to be, you could wander around and chat to people. I'm not complaining. It's not like when I was a lad, but it's great that it's so popular. But it's always been a very inclusive genre. It's always for people who maybe don't fit in other things. And I feel like it's a bit like heavy metal, or it's a bit like comic books, or, you know, all things that have become quite mainstream.
Yeah.
So yeah, hey, why not? I don't want to be one of those people who just likes a band before they were famous, you know. So I'm not going to do that with film either. So I want as many people as possible to watch The Cellar.
Thank you.
And thanks again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I've had a really good time. Yeah. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Cool.